A midlife crisis is more than just a cultural stereotype. It's a real psychological struggle that can surface between the ages of 40 and 60. Often triggered by aging, loss, or unmet expectations, it can actually lead individuals to question their identity, make impulsive choices, or abruptly abandon long term commitments. While not officially classified yet as a mental illness, the emotional and relational fallout is very real, especially for the spouses and families left behind. This podcast gives voice to those living through the aftermath, exposing the hidden pain, and seeking accountability, healing, and understanding. Thank you for joining us today on MLC Bomb Drop and Beyond. The stories and events discussed in this podcast are for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or professional advice. Any names, locations, or identifying details have been changed to protect privacy. Any similarities to actual persons, living or dead, or real events are purely coincidental. The information presented on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. Always consult with a qualified expert regarding any decisions related to your specific situation. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the podcast creators. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Today, I am talking to Melissa, who is 39 years old, and she is actually in midlife crisis herself, and she's going to tell us about how she recognized that. She's married, and I believe has children. And anyway, we're going to talk to Melissa right now. That's not her real name. All right. Hi, Melissa. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for sharing your perspective and what you're actually going through with our listeners. Not every day we get to talk to somebody in midlife crisis.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I hope I can be a source of help.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You are already. And so could you tell us leading up to how you started to feel maybe different, that something was going on?
Uh, well, the thing is, I have clinical depression, and so when the symptoms first started, I was about 38. I thought it was kind of like another episode of clinical depression, and so I went to my psychiatrist who kind of upped my dosage and medication. And I've had depressive episodes before where it's like, okay, I know what's causing this. And it was that, yeah, things in life had just started to become too stagnant, too routine, too same old, same old. But the distinct symptoms that I remember that were different, which I still kind of have some of those today. The restlessness, the irritability, the uh it's hard to explain. It's just like this bomb that wants to explode inside you.
Wow.
And it's just like, I am so tired of the same old, same old. I'm so sick of this. Everything pretty much. Like I was sick of taking my daughter to school. I was sick of doing the same thing over the weekend. And these are all things that I once kind of enjoyed. I that and I lost motivation in things that I once enjoyed, like working out, um, going out with going out with friends a little bit, having a beer on a Friday night with my husband, even doing jigsaw puzzles, which I love doing. Uh, I just started feeling like, yeah, just no motivation, no drive. And I also kind of started feeling not noticing my signs of aging, which uh, I would look in the mirror and I would notice my little gray hairs here and there. And I would notice my skin doesn't look like it used to be or used to look when I was in my 20s. And of course, it was getting harder and harder to keep the weight off. So That I think was, one of the triggers, noticing my signs of aging. And like I said in the beginning, at first I thought it was another depressive episode, and, until I started kind of feeling this, like, anger and resentment towards my husband, I kinda just
Mm.
started lashing out at him and, uh, blamed him, I guess, for life being so stagnant because I thought it was, "Well, we should have gone for a vacation somewhere not so domestic," and we took a domestic vacation because of, like, financial issues, but usually we go abroad, and I love to travel, that's a passion of mine. I love to, just see different places where everything is new and everything is
Mhm.
novel, and I didn't have that experience, so it was, like, kinda in the past 2 years, uh, I didn't have that experience, and I just kinda started to blame my husband for it because it was his financial troubles that were kind of the reason we didn't go, and yeah.
Does he realize that you, felt that way? That you were, con subconsciously or, like, sort of blaming him or holding him responsible?
Oh, yeah, he knew because he knew the financial troubles were on his side, like, it just
Mm.
things with work, and he was in between jobs for a little bit, and, I would text him, like, "I'm not happy, uh, when is this freaking shit gonna end? When are we actually gonna take a real vacation?" So, he knew how I was feeling, and he knew that I was the state of mind that I was in, and again, I was mistaking it for clinical depression, but now that I look back and I've learned so much more about MLC, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I think that's when it started."
How did you even learn about MLC?
Yeah, that I did not fully realize or even take it seriously or even truly look at it as, "Okay, this is something that I might have," until I, tried to have an affair on my husband.
Mm.
Um, so we had hired this, guy through a friend to build our new fence in our backyard, and he was younger, he was in his 20s, and, I just found myself very attracted to him. I thought he was good looking, and at first I thought, "Okay, this is just some eye candy." Uh, it's normal, you know, throughout a
Mhm.
marriage to have these fleeting attractions and as long as you don't act on them and I even told like one of my girlfriends like, "Yeah, this guy who's building our fence, he's like really cute and I can't stop kind of admiring him." And I was like, I feel like a total desperate housewife or something. And she was like, "Oh, well, I mean, that's normal. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just look at it as some eye candy for right now." But I couldn't stop kind of thinking about him and I guess like admiring him. And so after he was done with the project, I tracked him down on social media and knowing that with this anxiety in me and knowing that what I was doing wrong, I still messaged him and was like, "Hey, how are you? Oh, thank you for the connection on yeah, the social media, like Facebook, Instagram. And I enjoyed chatting with you." And so we started chatting like about life and stuff. And then I was just kind of like, okay, this is this is stupid. Why am I making this small talk with him? So I just kind of like told him everything, how I
Mhm.
was like attracted to him and I had a crush on him, and I was like, I don't know how you're gonna respond or that," and it was a really, "What the hell am I doing?" moment, and he read the message, and he, basically said, like, "Wow, I'm really, really flattered, but, you're married, and I don't want to come in between you and your husband," and he knew my husband because he was the guy who hired him, and, so I was like, "Okay." I was like, not the answer I wanted to hear, but I guess the answer I needed to hear, and, uh, well, we kept communicating, and so that just
Was that sort of, out of character for you to send a text message like that saying, like, announcing your attraction to somebody?
oh,
Like, before you were married, when you were dating, is that something you would have done?
well, before I was married, well, if I was in a committed relationship, yes, that would be very out of character, but if I was single, no. And
Okay, so when you were single, you were okay, like, letting somebody know that, "Hey, I really find you
yeah,
attractive."
yeah, because
Okay, so you went back to your sort of single mindset kinda thing
kind of, I think so,
or behavior.
and but definitely having been with my husband for the past 12 years and never having done anything like that ever until then, it was, very, very, very out of character for me.
Yeah. When you made that after you sent that message, did you have a second of, "Oh my gosh, how would my husband feel?" Did you think about his feelings?
No, I can't really say that I did. I just it was more like a, "Oh gosh, that was so pathetic. Melissa, you're like
Yeah.
14 years older than this guy. You're married. You guys are in 2 completely different stages of your lives. What are you doing?" And I had actually undid the message, like, I unsent the message, but, because he hadn't replied in a while, and I thought, "Okay, hopefully he's busy at work and he didn't see it." But, he did see it. And, yeah, that's when he responded with, his response, which was, basically, yeah, he, rejected my proposal, but that didn't really stop me from continuing to communicate with him. And, it actually made me, like, want to communicate with him more a little bit. It felt like kind of a challenge, I don't know why. But in my head, I was also reasoning like, "Well, he made his stance clear, so maybe it's okay if I just send him compliments here and there, a little harmless flirting." And this whole time, it's like, I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I didn't care because I was getting a rush out of it, and he liked the
Mhm.
attention I was giving him. He obviously liked the attention I was giving him, and he kept talking to me. Um, and so at that moment, that was the only time in, like, a really long time that I felt any sense of novelty or excitement, uh, in my life in a long
Wow. And how were you feeling towards your husband during this time?
uh, again, still, I kind of felt like, 1, I didn't care. I kind of felt apathetic. Mm,
Mhm.
and I noticed that was a major, symptom, I guess, of MLC is you just don't care. And
And you could sense that. It sounds like at times you could sense that. Like, I mean, did it sort of surprise you that, wow, what am I doing? It's like you could see yourself doing stuff.
Yeah, it's like the reasoning is there, the "What the hell am I doing?" is there, but, uh, it's like your emotions are much more stronger, and they can really take a hold of you.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely noticing my signs of
Um,
aging, I think. My having trouble, like, keeping my weight off,
mm,
that's kinda where I came to the realization, like, I'm not always going to be young, I'm not always going to be, look the way I looked in my 20s, at the time, I actually started taking care of my mom who has an terminal illness, and she's in her late 80s, and she needed, you know, assistance with being taken care of. And, I I still don't like taking care of her. It was just, I think that was one of the triggers too, and I think I read about that. That can be one of the triggers is a sick parent for MLC in women.
right?
It's just for some women, it's, something that's just really hard to say goodbye to, your youthfulness, and, um, I, had a troubled
Yeah.
childhood. I did not have a good childhood. Um, it was not the worst, but it wasn't really the type of childhood that a child should have. Both of my parents were just very emotionally distant and never really paid attention to me.
Mm,
And I never saw them being affectionate towards each other, and I don't think they liked each other. I think they just stayed married because they had kids. And, so just not having that attention and that validation that you should be getting from a parent, I became a teenager and I blossomed, and my looks were the only thing getting me. And that's when I started. Um,
but I'll just recap that a little. It was during your teenage years that you realized your looks were getting you attention, and I understand what you mean with that. It's like you put a lot of weight into that,
Or
and I mean,
okay.
you're a super smart woman,
Uh,
so you have looks
okay.
and
So
brains,
yeah,
beauty and
and
brains.
my looks were pretty much like my
Yeah,
number
now I can
one
hear you. Yeah,
priority,
yeah,
that I just really prioritized. I
yeah.
mean, yes,
It's
I
fine. Yeah.
prioritized my education and finishing school and getting a career to make good money, but it was always, well, I have my looks, I have my prized position, and it just never really dawned on me that that's not going to last forever. It's going to go away one day. No, it being
Believing it.
my husband, I never stopped being attracted to him. So, but there definitely were times where
Mhm.
I felt like I was falling out of love with him. I would just look at him and I would feel nothing. And I would still feel that kind of anger and resentment towards him. But I knew that deep down I was
Mhm.
not to a point where I could just up and leave. Um, yeah, yes.
As a
Guys
family.
who I didn't really want to be with, I wasn't really attracted to. Quirks about them were just so annoying. And so it's like, I know when I'm with somebody that I don't want to be with. And I didn't have that feeling towards my husband.
Mhm.
But for
Type of
me,
mentality.
it was more like I wanted to go and get plastic surgery and get a butt lift and get a skin tightening procedure. It was more that. So, but I did feel kind of like, I guess, rebellious in a way, is that in a way that like I just wanted to run away from it all, just say, fuck you, I'm out of here. And well, I don't fucking care. Leave me alone. Yeah. And kind of, yeah. Yes. And I think that
Mhm.
was the this guy that I was trying to.
Yeah, just like
I
you just want
wasn't
to escape.
working full time. I wasn't a working full time mother. I wasn't taking care of my ailing mother. I I didn't have all of this responsibility
Mhm.
on me. Um yeah, but I think another thing that, I mean, yes, I was attracted to this younger man, but what really made me think like, okay, I there's something up with me. I'm going through something, is I was finding other younger men attractive too. I was noticing younger guys at the gym who look like, I don't know, late teens, early 20s. I was like finding myself attracted to them. And I was like, okay, so it's not just him. And yeah, so yeah. Huh?
Um, how do you manage or recognize your depression or like that when if that feeling, that fog comes over you? And we'll talk about the
Kind
fog too.
of.
If you have like s
6 months or so. It's just arguing in my head, like the devil on one shoulder and angel on the other shoulder. And the devil is obviously the emotion, and the angel is logic. And it sucks. I hate it. It's frustrating. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's not easy not wanting to, like, wanting to reach out to him, not wanting to reach out to him. Um, and in those moments, I'm just,
Uh-huh.
I know that I can't,
Uh-huh.
because I made a promise to my husband, and one, don't, I don't want to feel like a psycho stalker, and I don't want him to look at me as a psycho stalker. And I am also kind of embarrassed that he rejected me. It was kind of a big blow to my ego. Um, so at those times, it can get really bad, and I just, yes, I've done that. I just get down on my knees and pray to whatever the hell is up there. Go away, go away, go away, make this go away, please. So, but I think he had that boundary where it's like, he said, oh, he doesn't mind talking and continuing to talk.
Uh-huh.
And, but yeah, I think that was just a boundary that he did not want to cross. But that is not how I interpreted it, being smack dab in the middle of my MLC. It was a huge blow to my ego. And I was like thinking to myself, he doesn't want me because I'm old and ugly and wrinkled. And which is like obviously not the reality. Thank you. Um, uh, yeah. Well, the big turning point, he
Um
found the messages. Um, and he found the messages, and he was really, really, heartbroken and devastated and angry and shocked and looking at me differently and betrayed. I could see the betrayal in his eyes and that feeling where you thought you knew somebody, but you never thought that they would do something like this. And it just changes your whole view of them. And so he basically gave me an ultimatum like, you need to go to therapy, you need to get counseling, you need to find some way to figure out what is going on with you, or I don't think we're going to make it. And he signed us up for couples counseling. No. Um, so then we like so that that's how he reacted, and part of me was I felt bad. Like I didn't want to hurt him that way. I didn't want him feeling that way, and I didn't want this kind of tension between us. But the MLC in me didn't care, and I was more upset about having not hid the messages better. Was like, crap, now I can't talk to him anymore. Why didn't I hide the messages
Mhm.
better? And and then kind of looking at him like, you ruined my fun. And so that was an even bigger predominant feelings that I had when he found out than the fact that I had hurt him. And I think that's a major MLC symptom. So and it was uh,
Yep.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say that that was probably the
Mhm.
hardest time
You're right.
going through an MLC was not being able to contact him. I
Oh,
after he found those
how
messages, a message saying don't contact my wife anymore. So he was basically told by my husband to yeah, don't contact my wife. So I think he was a little scared. I don't know.
Oh.
And I think knowing that he knew that my husband knew that he wasn't going to want to continue to maintain contact with me.
Mhm.
So knowing that was like kind of a yeah,
May not
and that
realize it right
really is
now,
the
but,
truth. If he
you
had
know,
wanted to get together,
um,
if he had wanted to
object.
meet up, I totally would have agreed and met up with him. And there still are moments that I still have now that I think the same thing, but they don't last
Mhm.
as long. And I'm able to bring myself back to reality a little sooner, and I'm able to distract myself a little better. I think
Yeah.
what would sorry, I'm just, getting a little tongue-tied here. I'd like to talk about what helped me. One, telling myself, um, "You made a promise. You made a promise to your husband that you would not contact him." Second, "You're married. You are married." I was
Okay.
like, screamed to myself in my head. Uh, Third, I would ask myself, never, like, in your 12 years of being with your husband, have you ever felt like doing something like this to him? Um, so you need to realize that it's not real what you're feeling, that you are going through something. And also, I guess it was like, I was embarrassed that I had gotten rejected. And another big fear was, if I did contact him and he completely ignored me, that would have just probably made me feel even more embarrassed and shittier. Or if I did contact him, he could have told my husband because he still had his number, obviously, and he had ways of getting a hold of him. And I did not want that to happen. That would just further disappoint my husband, further hurt him. Uh, Another
Mhm.
thing, so I tried to do a lot of rationing in my head. Good times to do this were when I was commuting to work. Another thing I did was, well, I confided in a couple of friends of what I was going through, and they basically said the same thing. You're married, what you're feeling is not real. What could this guy give you that your husband can't? Uh, Also, if you when you were 25, would you have gone after this guy? And that's when another realization I had was, no, I would not have gone after him. I know that's like, call me a gold digger or whatever, but he was a fence boy. He didn't make enough money. When I was in my mid late 20s, I was wanting to find the man that I was going to marry, and I was wanting to uh, have a good financially stable life. So,
Mhm. You know, the fact that your friend asked you if that was a guy you would have been attracted to when you were 25 and you said, absolutely not. That is a typical symptom in MLC where the person in MLC, we call it they affair down. They're attracted to somebody that they never in a million years would have been attracted to. Usually the polar opposite of their spouse. Somebody less attractive, less educated, less, we call it just less, you know. So that I don't know if you knew that was a symptom, but um, yeah, Melissa, that's a symptom of fair down. And when you have I think you said the angel and the devil are on your shoulders, your angel did a really good job of keeping you on track and overpowering that devil side. Because it does not always happen. And it's a really hard battle. It's a really, I mean, you know. So, are there any, it's now looking back, it sounds like you've really, the rationality has really come forward for you. Um, Mhm. I think
bring it into perspective that no, you were not rejected because you're old, ugly, and wrinkled. You're not even that old. And so, yeah, this 21-year-old at the gym when I was like 28 was interested in me and asked me out. And I told him, no, you're too young. Um, and he was good looking. He was a good looking guy. And he probably could have easily interpreted it the same way that I didn't find him attractive. But to me, he was very attractive. He was just too young and didn't, yeah,
Mhm.
wasn't what I was looking for at the time. Uh, so yeah, that's another analogy that kind of helped. Like, okay, you didn't want that guy because he was too young. So maybe he just didn't want
I exactly.
a
I like
lot
your
of self-talk. I
analogies
can
and
do
your
that for hours.
self-talk.
Yeah, so, like, okay, so then he most likely he was attracted to you. He thought you were attractive. He obviously liked the attention you were giving him, but you were married. So, just so much, so many, like, analogies and questions that I would ask myself, and yeah.
So, there are a lot of, resources out there, and some of our, listeners had already emailed me some podcasts for you and things like that, so I'll send those to you, separately, and I'll even link to some, in our, in my description on the podcast. But, because there is a lot of different support out there, especially for women, because the way we go through a midlife crisis is a little different, especially with the identity,
Yeah.
and so much is wrapped up in our appearance, like you obviously noticed, yeah, you're not alone in that. And do you have any pointers for the spouse who has a spouse in midlife crisis? Like, what could the supportive spouse try to do? Like somebody who's in your husband's position.
Gosh, that's a little hard for me to, answer, I guess, because you mentioned a lot that a lot of the women or even men in their midlife crisis don't even realize that they're going through their midlife crisis. And so it's like even if you were to try to tell them,
Mhm.
they would deny it or whatever. Gosh, that's a tough one. Uh, just you're not alone, obviously. You can seek out your own support. I guess just try to educate yourself as much as possible about midlife crisis. Maybe try and become a little familiar with the stages that they're going to be going through.
Yeah, really good point. Yeah, because it seems like your husband's done a really stellar job, and I wanna just say, kudos, big, thank you and kudos to your husband for, supporting you in, um, telling your story, sharing your story, and for him standing by you, Obviously, he really loves you, and he is,
Yeah,
trying to help you get through this storm, because that's what it is, you know? It's like we're all out there on the ocean. You guys have your boat has hit a storm, and the storm's gonna
yeah,
end, and he's hanging in
um,
there to help you guys see it through.
and
Mine, I love all those analogies, and it's so true. When you have a spouse that's your best friend, that is the key, And, so thank you so much. I think you've answered almost everybody's questions, but if my listeners have any additional, questions for Melissa, just shoot them over. And, we're, is it okay if we continue to check in with you and follow your journey? And one day you're going to be out of MLC, very soon, probably. Yeah. And I think our listeners have heard that. And I'll reiterate, please know if you have a spouse going through MLC, just like Melissa says here, it totally sucks. It's overwhelming in her head. And sometimes they can see what the right and wrong is, but they just can't, um, sometimes they can't pull themselves away from doing something that's wrong. Yeah, and it sounds like the midlife crisis feeling was very a self-centered, self-focused, mindset. Wow. Yeah. Well, you know what, Melissa? I think you're our first female, woman to speak about being in midlife crisis. So thank you so much for that because I know you've shed a lot of um, great information for our viewers, no matter where they are in this journey. Um, n- they're not alone, and it's great to see that you're going through this and you're coming out of it, and I think you've done really, really well. Is some of our listeners had also asked if there's anything we can do for you. Like, are there things, what do you think would help you going forward? Mhm. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I was a psych major myself and never heard. I mean, I thought midlife crisis, you go buy a new car. If I went through it, I'm sure I did like Botox and filler. That was how I dealt with any things that would have gone through my head. You know, but yeah, it is something that everybody tends to go through. We just don't know much about it. So, yeah, we can't thank you enough for joining us. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, we are trying for sure. All right. Oh, thank you, Melissa. Thanks so much. Thanks, you guys, for listening today and joining us with Melissa. I know we had some technical difficulty there. She was on a cell phone, and so we had a little, you know, a few difficulties. So thanks for hanging in there. And I think towards the end, there, like she was saying things that didn't come through on our recording. The key thing there, she was telling two analogies at the end, but also the key thing there, when I asked, you know what can people do for her? And she said, you know what? Really, the best thing is just learning more about midlife crisis and, making it more mainstream awareness, as she thought that was important and exactly what we're trying to do. So that's good. And some of the resources I wanted to mention, not only for Melissa, but also no matter where you are in the journey. The Hero's Spouse, that's Kenda Ruth Stump's Facebook group. It's called The Hero's Spouse. And again, that's where there's a quick little 2-minute quiz that you can take to see if you or somebody you know might be, you know, suffering from midlife crisis. And then there's also Lori McDermott's YouTube videos, The Wife Expert, and that's thewifeexpert.com. She's got an app out as well. And Lori, the wife expert, is on YouTube. That's an excellent resource as well. And then a relatively new podcast is it's called Your Soul's Revival. Yeah, Your Soul's Revival. And it's a podcast by Tina Meadows. And I believe it's on YouTube and Spotify, Apple, everywhere you find your podcasts. And that is specifically geared towards women going through a midlife crisis, sort of like going through a midlife transition, but definitely something that if you're going through a MLC, check out Your Soul's Revival. All right, thanks for joining us today, and a huge thank you to Melissa for sharing her experience and her journey with us, and trying to she's really trying to give support to the left behind spouses that are out there going, what is going on in my spouse's head? So I hope you guys found that helpful. And please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions for Melissa, and we'll make sure she gets those. And, this is all about educating, awareness, support for each other. So thanks again. Thanks again, you guys, for tuning in to Midlife Crisis, Bomb Drop, and Beyond. We have reached nearly 10,000 downloads. We have hundreds of subscribers, if not over 1,000. You guys, forward moving spouses, you are not alone. Left behind spouses, you are not alone. Those in crisis, you are certainly not alone. This is just crazy how epidemic this has become. I have a waiting list now of people from around the world that I'm trying to get to. And if you've been through a midlife crisis or been impacted by someone else's and you want to share your story, I'd love to hear from you. Hang in there, you guys. I will get to all of you. Please reach out to me at mlcbombdrop@gmail.com and visit us on Facebook and Instagram, MLC Bombdrop. And just remember, your voice matters. Your story could be the one that helps someone else feel seen. It could help someone else feel heard. And it will help somebody else feel understood. You are not alone, no matter where you are in your journey. If the bomb was just dropped, the earthquake just happened, if you are 7 or 8 years in and you're coming out of starting to wake up and awaken to this, you are not alone. It's sad that this is epidemic, but we're here to provide support. So until next time, take care and live authentically each and every day. Thanks again, you guys.